Welcome the focus learner to another explainer. Look, for a lot of us, diving into ancient texts, especially scripture, can honestly feel like a dry, surface level academic chore. You read the words, maybe you gather some cool historical facts, but let's be real, nothing actually shifts or changes on the inside. Well, today, we're exploring a framework called the Living Word Alignment Guide. It's a system designed to completely shatter that routine reading habit. We're going to examine how this framework helps readers move from merely gathering biblical information to experiencing genuine, lasting change, specifically through a core technique they call the mirror method.
Okay, let's dive into this structured roadmap. We'll start by moving beyond the surface. Then, we'll uncover the historical context, dig deep into the mirror method, and finally, look at how to foster community and group growth.
Part 1. Beyond the surface. We really need to acknowledge the common struggle of routine reading. You know, that deeply ingrained habit of just plucking a single verse in total isolation. Reading a verse totally out of context might feel safe and familiar, but it's often the exact reason ancient texts feel completely lifeless to a modern reader. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between the two approaches. The old way is basically characterized as simply filling your head with facts. It's essentially a basic exercise in data collection. But the true objective of the guide? Transforming your heart. This entire alignment framework acts as a definitive bridge between those two paradigms. But before anyone can cross that bridge toward real transformation, the guide argues that we've got to build a solid foundation first. Which brings us to Part 2, uncovering the context. Basically, before we can look inward for personal transformation, we first have to look at the whole picture to understand what these words actually meant to the ancient audience who heard them first. Uncovering these highly specific historical and cultural details drastically changes how we interpret a passage. For instance, the guide emphasizes that being a shepherd wasn't just some casual rustic job title back then. There was immense cultural weight attached to that role in the ancient world. It involved profound responsibility, societal standing, and the gritty physical reality of protecting a flock. Knowing that completely alters how a reader understands any reference to shepherding. Similarly, understanding the literal architectural layout of Jerusalem, specifically its physical elevation, changes the meaning of ancient phrases like going up to Jerusalem. Context to the argument argues is the actual mechanism that breathes life into the text. Now, this contextual deep dive isn't strictly limited to history and geography. It extends heavily into language. And honestly, the English language often has to do some serious heavy lifting when translating complex, nuanced ancient words. Take a universally common concept like love. In English, use the exact same word to describe how you feel about your spouse and how you feel about a really good slice of pizza. But the guide points out that the original Greek and Hebrew have incredible specific nuances. You've got agape, which implies a selfless sacrificial devotion, phileo, meaning brotherly affection, and eros, referring to romantic passion. When standard English translations fall short of capturing these distinct meanings, digging into the original language ensures you actually understand the text completely before you attempt to let it transform you. Moving on to Part 3, the mirror method and personal alignment. The big idea here is that Scripture isn't just a window looking into the ancient past. It's a mirror to look directly at yourself. Once that historical and linguistic context is firmly established, the text transforms. The source material states this so beautifully. Bible study shouldn't just fill your head with facts, it should transform your heart. This concept is the absolute core focus of the framework. It represents the exact transition point where ancient history is meant to collide head-on with your modern daily life. It is the defining shift from just gathering information to experiencing true personal transformation. So, the crucial point is how this actually works. The mirror method systematically breaks down into 3 highly targeted reflective steps. Step 1. You ask what the passage reveals about God's character. This establishes what the text presents as fundamental, unchanging truth. Step 2, you look into that metaphorical mirror to honestly identify your own personal misalignments with that specific truth. It's a process of rigorous internal auditing. And then, Step 3, moving well beyond just feeling guilty or intellectually stimulated, the framework demands concrete action. You're prompted to figure out exactly what you are going to do about that misalignment in the week ahead. It's an incredibly structured, highly effective sequence for measurable personal growth. Actually, let me stop right here and just ask you directly. Where is your current mindset or behavior misaligned with this truth? Just sit with that for a second. If you apply the mirror method right now to a core principle or value you hold dear, you can immediately see how this dramatically shifts reading from a passive intellectual hobby into an active, demanding challenge. There's literally no room for a reader to simply gather data and walk away unchanged. Let's move to and see how this builds into our fourth and final section, community and group growth, and how we scale this personal transformation. Personal transformation is an incredible starting point, but the guide goes further. It asks, what happens when you scale this mirror method to a living room full of people? When a small group is trying to align their lives together, this framework essentially acts as a highly effective co-leader for the discussion. First up, it generates dynamic questions that actively move groups way past simple yes or no answers, aiming instead to spark vulnerable, authentic conversations. Second, it helps a facilitator navigate differing viewpoints. By providing balanced overviews on complex theology, it allows the group to discuss hard, deeply nuanced topics with grace and clarity, rather than getting derailed by endless debate. And third, it provides the tools to design custom 4 to 6 week tailored reading and discussion plans. To understand what these custom series actually look like in practice, the source material offers some perfect examples. A group might tackle highly relevant immediate themes, like finding peace and anxiety, or they might choose to do a deep theological dive into understanding true biblical community. By tailoring the transformative experience to the exact, real-time needs of the specific people sitting in the room, a facilitator ensures that the discussion is always intensely relevant. This level of customization is what allows the mirror method to resonate collectively. It literally turns individual transformation into shared group growth. We've traced this framework all the way from the ancient context of shepherds and Jerusalem, through the complex nuances of ancient language, right into the deeply reflective power of the mirror method, and finally out into practical community application. The ultimate culmination of this entire guide is a single provocative challenge issued to its readers. What is one concrete action you can take this week to surrender this area to God? Rather than just letting this explainer be another collection of fascinating facts stored in your head, consider how frameworks exactly like this one invite us to move beyond mere information, stepping fully into active transformation. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.